It is time for another tournament run, and the character of choice is Pit with his insane combo game and fast moves. Lately he has been pretty fun to play with, so I thought I'd give him a shot. The tournament of choice was TNJ Tuesday with 45 attendees, and I already started in winners round 2 due to my higher seed. As you can see by the attendee size, we have a long tournament ahead of us, so without further ado, let's start the tournament. Kalapaya is a Mewtwo main, who I've encountered several times in Elite Smash already. I've remembered that the matches tend to be more on the closer side, so I knew from the very get-go that this is gonna be a tough one. And a tough one it was, as Kalapaya took the lead in game 1. I got hit by a ton of stuff early on and knew that I had to position myself more carefully. Also, I needed to use my arrows in such a way that it forces the Mewtwo player into spots that are hard to come back from. In general, Pit's arrows are a major component of his game plan and have multiple strengths, which I will talk about later on. After a rough start in game 1, I managed to find the final stock with one more back air and we moved on to game 2. That was a tough first one. Yeah, this Mewtwo is pretty good. I encountered them a few times on lead already. Kalapaya chose Small Battlefield for game 2, which I personally really love with Mewtwo. The down tilt of Mewtwo can lead to tech chase situations involving down special or up smash, and the same goes for Mewtwo's down throw into down special or up smash as a tech chase option. Overall, I would say that was a good stage pick against me, and as you can see, it certainly worked out for Kalapaya. Even though it was a very close match until the very end, it wasn't meant to be, and Kalapaya won game 2, forcing a game 3 already in winners round 2. Game 3, I decided to go back to the stage on which I have already won on, Pokemon Stadium 2. After having played 2 games already, it felt like I was finally in the game, because my advantage state got all of a sudden much better. Because of Mewtwo's floatiness, I was able to keep them airborne a ton during this match, which ramped up the damage pretty quickly. Suddenly, something clicked when fighting against Mewtwo, and it was juggling, frame trapping, and keeping up the pressure. And with this kind of play, I closed out game 3 with one final forward smash near the ledge to take Kalapaya's last stock. GG's to Kalapaya, it was a fun set. At the end, I got way more aggressive. That threw them totally off. Overall, very good Mewtwo player though. My next opponent was Viego, a Bayonetta main. Let's do this. Winners round 3 against Viego started on Town and City. So why exactly did we start on Town and City? Personally, I had not a single clue if it would benefit me more or Viego. While Bayonetta has good killer moves off the side with forward air, back air, rapid jab. Okay, actually she kills a ton off the side. Never mind. But the same goes for Pit, to be fair. Pit has forward tilt, forward smash, back air, forward throw and more moves, which reliably kill off the side. So yeah, we can both play on Town and City. And my general counterplay against Bayonetta? Well, I stayed grounded a ton or at a range where Bayonetta's burst option, side special, can't hit me. Game 1 was super solid on my part and I was able to finish it with a 3 stock over Viego. That was clean! Game 2, Viego chose Kalos as a stage. Personally, I have not a single clue how good Bayonetta is on Kalos, but I could already see the adaptation on Viego's part. Not even 40 seconds into the game, and I've already received more percent than in the entire previous match. But even though Viego was in a good lead, the streamer plot armor kicked in and Viego unfortunately SD'd. And I can tell you this much, that my armor was super thick. I've received so much percent on my first stock and didn't lose a stock until I was at 225%. Okay, up air kills. Because of wrong DI. First the self-destruct, and then Viego had to inflict so much percent. They adapted very well and sometimes unfortunate things happen. But it was very fortunate for me. One more down smash with bad DI sealed Viego's fate and I won winners round 3. GG's to Viego. We both played actually relatively solid. The thing is just, there were some weird things happening sometimes here and there. Like the SD was happening, the bad DI was happening, but neutral was actually okay. Next I had to play against Ninja Royale and winners quarter who plays Dark Samus and Samus. Let's go. Game 1 started on Kalos and in this matchup I went rather aggressive than defensive. Dark Samus has better camping tools than Pit with their charge shot and missile. However, I still got my Orbitas, which can reflect the projectiles or prevent me from taking damage. Furthermore, I used a lot of arrows to interrupt the approaches of Dark Samus or them charging their charge shot. My game plan overall revolved more around not letting them set up Dark Samus' specialty, and I stayed at a range that prevents me from getting grabbed or feared. At the end, I won game 1 with a 2 stock and we moved on to the second match. Game 2, Ninja Royale decided to go on Final Destination, which I think was a good stage pick against me. But unfortunately, Nin made a huge mistake early on, and after getting hit, they tried to grab the ledge immediately with a Stare, which didn't connect to the ledge. In Smash Ultimate, there's a mechanic which prevents you from grabbing the ledge after getting hit. If you get hit, you cannot grab the ledge for 55 frames, which is almost an entire second. Because of this, Nin Royale SD'd, and I extended my lead further and further. Even with an entire stock lead early on, you could see the adaptation is there. But with an entire stock difference, it was not enough for Nin Royale, and I won the game with a dash attack. GG's to Nin Royale, good adaptation on your part. Next up, I had to play against Ashgar, a Jigglypuff main, in Winner's Semi. I don't think I played often against Jigglypuff with Pit. I think Puff does well when I'm getting edge-guarded. I mean, a lot of characters die to Jigglypuff, but I think Pit... yeah, I have no hitbox on my up beam. Game 1 started on small battlefield, and the Jigglypuff matchup is a weird one for me as Pit. Even though Pit has a sword, he still lacks the range to properly zone out Jigglypuff. There are a few moves which work pretty well, like up air against landings and back air against approaches, which also has its downsides because back air doesn't move in an arc and only horizontally. So if Jigglypuff jumps over me or ducks under me, I can get punished. From the first game alone, I could see that this is gonna be a long set. After a dash attack, I was finally able to take the last stock, and we moved on to Game 2. Game 2, Ashgar decided to go on Smashville. I'm gonna be honest with you here, I had not a single clue which stage to ban. So I just let the stages open I felt the most comfortable at. I wouldn't say that Smashville was a bad choice, because just as Game 1, this Game 2 felt very even throughout its entirety, with Ashgar having a slight edge over me. One aspect I haven't talked about so far is the edge guard dynamic in this matchup, because Jigglypuff has a relatively good time edge guarding Pit, when I am forced to use my up special and not my side special. And this also led to me losing my stock at the end. It's 1-1 now in this set. Due to us being in Winner's Semi already, this set is a best of 5. Now I was allowed to pick a stage and I chose my comfort pick, Battlefield. In my head I wanted the extra platform to take the match more slowly against Ash. In general, this entire set has been more about dealing chip damage and not so much about huge combos, so every game took an eternity. Just as the previous matches, it was again a very close match with both of us ending on our last stock. However, it was Ashgar again who took my last stock. I think I have to take it more slowly, because I feel like if I'm going too aggressive, then I'm eating so much percent that I have to zone Jigglypuff out. But damn, Game 4 I picked Battlefield again. I knew that it wasn't about the stage, it was about my game plan. For me to stay in this set, I had to win Game 4. If I wanted to win this game, I had to keep my pressure up against Jigglypuff and force them into tight spots with my arrows. And this worked absolute wonders as I saw myself in a huge lead against the Jigglypuff main. This game was a complete turnaround. I was zoning out Jigglypuff properly, I used the arrows to bait them into tight spots, and throughout all of that, I won Game 4 with a 3 stock and we moved on to a Game 5 scenario. Let's win this. Game 5, Ashgar went on Smashville again, and this match started out very even. We both took each other's first stock at some point, and we found ourselves on about evenish percent on our second stocks. However, there's one crucial factor I haven't talked about so far in this entire set, which can swing everything around. The big X factor, also known as rest. Ashgar did an amazing job following up my air dodge and getting that early stock. While the entirety of the match felt pretty even, this was a huge deal for the Jigglypuff main. It was tough to overcome this deficit from here on out for me, but I managed to get Ashgar to the last stock. And then the set ended in the most unfortunate way possible. Ashgar got me into an offstage scenario and tried to edgeguard me. I want to avoid their nair, and by doing so I used a very tight up special angle. But I launched myself a bit too far to the left, and SD'd while trying to recover. To be fair though, I think that nair would have hit me and it was perfectly aligned. GG's to Ashgar, I'm gonna climb back. After this set I dropped down to loser's quarter and had to play by Fabri, a snake player. Let's start our bracket climb. Okay, so my problem is I have not played against a lot of snake. So the major issue is basically if I combo, how far can I go with my combo before the grenade explodes? We started the set on Pokemon Stadium 2 and right away the game started as I imagined it with a ton of explosions. My first thought when getting into this matchup was that I'm not sure how true the combos of Pit are. Let me explain. There are some combos that are completely true and some combos that are still kinda true because the opponent doesn't have the necessary escape option. For most characters, the fastest escape option is usually an air dodge, and some characters have fast moves instead. And Snake has his frame 1 grenade. So whenever I hit Snake and it is not a completely true combo, he can pull a grenade, which will result in me hitting the grenade and we both taking damage. The first game was me feeling out how far I can take my combos, because I wasn't familiar enough with the matchup. At the end, I took game 1 with a 2-stock, a pretty solid start. Game 2, Bifabri decided to stay on Pokemon Stadium 2. I had nothing against that, it is a pretty neutral stage after all. As you all know, Snake is a very good character who can dish out damage pretty fast, has good camping tools, an insane recovery and so on. However, many people also know me, and you know that I'm a weirdo. I enjoy these campy matchups, specifically against projectile characters like Snake or Pac-Man. It gives me more time to analyze the game plan of my opponent and act accordingly. Game 2 pretty much went the same as Game 1. I found myself in a good lead and finished off Game 2 with one F-throw near the ledge. After getting 2-stock 2 times, Bifabri decided to switch to another stage, and the stage of choice was Small Battlefield. This match was much more even than the previous 2 matches. You could really see Bifabri adapting to my Pit gameplay. What was especially good was the usage of the Nikita. I often used Pit's Orbitars to get safely back on stage. I didn't want to get hit by the Nikita. However, Bifabri used the Nikita in such a way that it doesn't get reflected upon hitting me, but rather following me all the way down. If I drop the Orbitars, I get hit by the Nikita, and if I stay with my Orbitars, well, ISD. It was a very smart way of abusing my usage of Orbitars. This game was definitely in Bifabri's favor, and in the end, they won game 3 with one down throw and connecting an up tilt after reading my get up option. Let's move on to game 4. Game 4 I went back to Pokemon Stadium 2. After all, I've already won 2 games on that stage, so why shouldn't I pick it, right? The game started off very even, and after a bit over a minute or so, we both lost our first stocks. On the second stock, I got a huge opening with a grab and back throw Bifabri off stage. From there on out, I was able to rack up more percentage through the usage of my arrows and edge guarding, until I finished off the stock with a down air into up smash. However, shortly after, Bifabri also took my second stock with an up tilt. This game was down to the wire, it was all about who finds the finishing move, and at the end, I saw the opportunity for an F smash after reading an air dodge by the Snake player. And because F smash is surprisingly strong, it won me the game and the set. GG's to Bifabri, it was a fun set. Next up, I had to play against Envy, a Luigi player in loser semi. Let's go. The first game started on Pokemon Stadium 2, and for long-time viewers, this is no surprise when I say this. It is always morally correct to outcamp Luigi. Luigi is the original Kazuya. One grab and he can take your entire stock. So whenever I have to fight Luigi, I will camp them out. Some people might not like that, but that's just how you play against this character. Every move Luigi connects can lead to a huge combo and your stock loss. That was so weird, I don't even know how I ended up on this platform. And just like that, I lost game 1 after a down throw into up special. Let's move on to game 2. Game 2 I decided to go on Battlefield. The reasoning for this is very simple. The 3 platforms helped me setting up my camping game and staying away safe from Luigi's grab. I know, it is a pretty lame way to play against Luigi, but I kinda have to do it. Otherwise it would just be throwing the game. And I can tell you this much, I definitely did not throw this game. The stage pick worked out wonders, and after losing game 1, I found myself in a huge lead in this game 2. I got the important edge guards against Luigi and won game 2 after one down air spike. But that's the thing about Luigi, you know? I can 3-stock Luigi, but at the same time I can grab 3 times and I'm dead. What should I ban versus Luigi? Because the thing is, Luigi wants a 0 to depths. I just banned the FD stages so I can retreat on platforms. Yeah, I banned FD, Kalos and Town and City. Game 3, Envy went on Pokemon Stadium 2. Understandable choice after he won against me in game 1. At this point, I knew what I had to do against Luigi. My arrows are a very good tool at edgeguarding Luigi, and if he doesn't get a misfire, I can also reliably edgeguard him with my aerials. But yeah, as you all know, everything can turn around in an instant against Luigi. And suddenly, not only did I lose my stock so quickly, I also lost my second stock against Envy before taking theirs out. and from there I had a hard time taking out Envy's second stock. Eventually I got it, but at the end it wasn't enough to close out the game and Envy won game 3. Game 4 I went on Hollow Bastion. Now some of you might ask, why don't you go on Battlefield again? It worked out very well against Envy, and that's a very good question. Envy banned it. I was not allowed to go back, so I had to settle on another stage. I thought that Hollow Bastion might be a good pick. Overall, I kept my game plan up from the previous games. I got my edge guards against Envy, and Envy got the kill confirms against me. And at the end, I won game 4 with a 2-stock after an F-throw near the ledge. It was 2-2 in this set now. Oh my god! Fuck Luigi! I was never in the lead. I will never stop hating Luigi. I know how to win. And there's one way how to win against Luigi. You have to play like a little bitch. Game 5, Envy decided to go on Pokemon Stadium 2. This game decided who moves on to losers final and who drops out of the tournament and gets 4th place. We both had our game plans in place. It was more about who executes them better. And Envy got his hands on me first with a huge combo. But then I was able to get Envy off stage, and from there on out I executed my plan of edgeguarding Luigi until I finally got their stock. One major aspect about Luigi I didn't talk about so far is his ability to break out of combos. It didn't happen often because I was aware of it, but because of his down B, Luigi can get out of combos or tough spots and also take stocks with it. Envy wasn't really able to use it often against me because I either broke through it with my multi-hits or I simply stopped my combo. This match was really down to the wire, and as you can see, we were both in a last stock, last hit scenario. Whoever finds the finishing blow will move on to losers finals, and after a while, it was me who hit the game-ending backer after I barely shield poked Envy. I'm not gonna lie to you, that hit was pretty lucky, but at the same time, it was a safe backer, so I was able to use it. GG's to Envy. That was a tough set. Oh man, this matchup. Jesus, good Luigi. Now I had to fight against the Field Warrior in losers final. We already played against each other in previous tournaments and he used Sonic and Villager against me. But this time, he had a third character up his sleeve. Yoshi. Let's do this. Game 1 started on Hollow Bastion with a pretty slow start from both sides. Yoshi's a character who wants to go in, but due to Yoshi's short range, he can get outzoned pretty easily. However, Pit also doesn't have a huge range to begin with, so that's fine. Early on I noticed that some of my kill confirms just won't work against Yoshi, due to his double jump armor, which made the matchup pretty tricky. Overall, the first game was all about getting a feeling how each other plays. After we were both on our last stocks, I used a move I have not used the entire tournament, which helped me securing the stock and the game afterwards. Thank you, side special. Dump option beats always very good option. Game 2, the Field Warrior decided to stay on Hollow Bastion and the game was already much better for him. He avoided a ton of my moves through proper spacing, and when the opportunity was there, he took full advantage of it. While the game was relatively even, the Field Warrior always had a slight advantage over me, and after one missed tech after down tilt, I lost my stock and the game for it. Good adaptation on the Field Warrior's part. Maybe the Yoshi is it actually, not the Sonic. Now the stage choice was mine and I decided to go on Pokemon Stadium 2 as my counter pick. Usually I never struggle so much against Yoshi, but the Field Warrior played in such a way that it was really tough to get a hit in, and at the same time, when I slightly overextended, I ate massive percent for it. He had a huge advantage over me when I got cornered near the ledge and I thought my stock is gone very soon. But the Field Warrior made a huge mistake. He wanted my stock too much and SD'd in the process. This was a huge turning point in this entire game, and you all know what I have to say to an SD. We take those. It is never satisfying, but as a competitor, we must take this. And wouldn't it have been for the SD, I think I would have lost this game. It is 2-1 now in this set. Game 4, the Field Warrior decided to go back to Pokemon Stadium 2. After all, the stage was not at fault. It was the SD in the previous match. I totally understand the stage choice here. The Yoshi player started off with a good lead against me to bring this set around, and even inflicted more damage onto my second stock before I was finally able to take it with an F-Smash. Can we just really quickly talk about this move, by the way? F-Smash is ridiculously fast, but also being super strong for no reason whatsoever. I know slower smashes that are weaker than Pit's F-Smash, That all being said, even though the Field Warrior was in a good lead, I brought it all the way around and we found ourselves on 0% and our last stocks. For me, it was about getting into Grand Finals. For the Field Warrior, it was about forcing a Game 5 and stay in the set. I managed to rack up more percent and at the end, I was able to close out the game and win the entire set. GG's to the Field Warrior, your Yoshi is really good. Now it was time for the Grand Final against Ashgar. I got my rematch against the Jigglypuff main and I wanted to win the tournament. Let's do this. Game 1 started on Battlefield and I was absolutely focused on winning this set. If I win, we move on to a Grand Finals reset, and if I lose, Ashgar is the winner of the tournament. From playing in Winner's Semi, we both definitely knew how the other player played. But this time, I was more focused on juggling Jigglypuff and it worked wonders. I quickly found myself in a 2-stock lead and only had to take one more stock, but Ashgar made an insane comeback, all thanks to the all-reliable rest. And suddenly, the game was even again. Ashgar was already at over 100% and then they found another rest opportunity. But I lucked out and barely survived, which gave me a free punish and winning game 1. Game 2, Ashgar decided to go on Small Battlefield. A little fun fact, Rest probably would have killed on Small Battlefield due to the lower ceiling compared to Battlefield. This game didn't start as dominant as the previous game, and we both took out each other's first stocks, and then the second stocks, until we both arrived on our last stock. At the end of the game, Ashgar was able to find a fair and forced me into a tech chase scenario. If they guess right, they win the game and they guessed correctly. But misspaced the rest, which gave me another free punish to win game 2. Game 3, Ashgar picked Small Battlefield again. So far I gotta admit that I lucked out pretty much in this set. One rest barely didn't kill and the other rest straight up missed. I mean, I still played very well in this set, but the reasons for winning the games weren't really in my favor. If I didn't luck out, it would be 2-0 for Ashgar right now and not for me. So I knew that I had to step up my game. I was only this one game away from forcing a bracket reset and this game was getting closer and closer. We were both again on our last stocks and it was just a matter of time who gets the opening. Even though it seemed like I had the edge, in terms of percent, this means nothing when playing against Jigglypuff who has rest. But I couldn't afford to air dodge or tech into it again, and after a while, I was able to find a back air to finish game 3 and win the set over Ashgar. Which means we had to play one more set to determine the winner of this tournament. I can tell you this much already, the Grand Finals reset was no joke at all. Ashgar stepped up the gameplay and was hungry for the win, but I didn't want to back down either. We've already played a ton of matches in this tournament and knew what we had to do. The first game on Small Battlefield went to Ashgar after an insane tech chase combined with Sing and Rest. After this, it was my counter pick for game 2 and I wanted to try out Hollow Bastion again. Just as the previous matches, it was again a very close match and we both ended up on our last stock. After Ashgar got me in a combo, I was able to get out of it and then find an opportunity to end the match with a down air into turnaround up smash, which killed surprisingly early. Game 3, Ashgar went on Small Battlefield again and you might wonder where Smash Will is all of a sudden. Well, I banned it because Ashgar performed very well on the stage in our first set that we've played on. And I think it was the right decision. At this point, we figured each other out and it was again down to the wire. Ashgar got the edge guard opportunities and I caught them while they were airborne to kill them off the top. We were both at kill percent at the end, but one final down throw into up air sealed Ashgar's stock and I took the lead in this set. Game 4, Ashgar went again on Small Battlefield and this game went way better for them than every other game before. I got hit by a massive jab block combo and Ashgar took my stock out with an F smash. And before I could answer back, I even lost my second stock during an edge guard scenario. I wanted to win this game so badly because I was only one game away from winning the tournament. So I slowly climbed back up and took out Ashgar's first stock. And after 1.5 minutes, I took out their second stock as well. It was an even game again, but at the end, my inability to tech at midnight prevented me from closing out the game and it was now 2-2 in this grand final. After all of this, it really came down to a game 5 on Hollow Bastion. The winner of this tournament is decided on this stage. At the beginning of this match did not look good for me at all, as Ashgar took an early lead without taking a single percent. I was playing at a huge deficit from this point onward, but I didn't want to give up. I had to play near perfectly to close out this gap. Every hit I receive will move me further away from victory, and after a while with patience and good spacing, I found the opportunity to take Ashgar's stock, but only receiving 33%. The game was open again. Or I thought it was open again, because after I shot over the ledge with my recovery, Ashka was fast enough to take my stock with a back air. This didn't look good for me and the game was slowly running away. I had to do something, but Ashka played so well during this game. It was extremely hard to edgeguard Ashkar, because they always went very high back on stage. And due to Jigglypuff's air drift, it was hard to predict where Jigglypuff will end up. And all I can say is that Ashka played too well during this game and I was not able to win the game. Ashka took me out with one final back air, which made them the winner of this tournament, and I ended up on 2nd place. GG's to Ashka, it was a very fun set. GG's, that was clean. Okay, remind me to never play Pit anymore against Jigglypuff. I think that's not working out for me. I need my projectiles with Link. It's still good though. Yeah, the Pit got 2nd place, so I'm happy with that result. It wasn't meant to be, but overall this was a pretty fun tournament run. I played against a ton of good players and Ashka won fair and square. Fun fact by the way, the set count against Ashka is 2-1 for them. However, the game cut is 7-6 in my favor. I know it doesn't mean anything, but hey, let me have something after losing the tournament. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the Pit tournament run. If so, feel free to like, share, comment and subscribe. I see you all next time. Have a good one. Bye bye.